Hey guys, in today's session, I wanted to give you essentially a walk through my process of sketching out a track using just a piano and how that works, how the whole process works, how I will use the 3-act structure to determine what I write and how I write it. So the aim with this is I'm going to be writing for strings, ideally solo strings, probably violin. So it needs to be simple. It needs to kind of essentially embody all the elements of the 3-act structure within a single playable line. I will be using a simple piano, my Alicia Keys piano, my beloved Alicia Keys, to get this part written in and playable. I'll be aiming for around 2 minutes to 2 minutes 20 in length. So let's I'll just go through my thought process now. So what I'm aiming is to have an emotional and dramatic string piece, ideally used for drama, but could also be used for documentaries, crime stuff, so that it needs to have some element of tension, not a huge amount because I'm not going full on crime drama. I want to go, like I said, documentary or Oscar period drama trailers, that type of thing. So the idea is keep it playable. I like to write in, if I'm in a minor key or a major key, I like to write in G for the violin, just because my brain works better thinking about the lowest sounding violin string, the G, being kind of like the playable open string. Kind of like how when I'm on the guitar, I tend to verge towards E minor or E major, just because of the way the instrument is designed. And because I don't want to put too much thought into what's playable and what's not. I want to kind of go, okay, well, I kind of know that they'll be able to do this. So here we go. I'm going to stick to G minor for this. Now, what I would like is an open intro that's going to be slow, perhaps have a single melody, perhaps have pads based around it, and then Act 2 will be sort of a driving arpeggio, or at least some kind of driving arpeggio, and then Act 3 will open up that arpeggio and make it feel even bigger, more emotional, broader. Okay, so this is just going to be a sketching session for me today. So here we go. Let's start this. I'm going to start in G minor, right? I want this to feel open, and I want the G to be in the bass to kind of feel like a tense drone, like that. Something like that. So let's go with this G minor, G B D, and then I'm going to keep that G in the bottom there, and add an A in the A and C. So although Logic's telling me it's a G9/#9/11, I'm seeing it as an A minor 7 with the 7th degree in the root. That's going to be my basic movement. Okay, so let's write this in. Okay, thinking about my tempo, I'm on 120 at the moment. Let's just see how this sounds and fits with 120. Okay, so I imagine each of those notes being kind of played by a violin player, or maybe even just the top note, this D down to the C, up to the D, up to the E flat, up to the D, down to the C and back to the D again. I'm not going to resolve it on G major yet. So what I would like to do is think about this chord sequence. I've got this G minor going to this A minor 7, back to the G minor, and then it moves up to the C minor, and then back to the G minor. This chord here, I went back to the A minor 7. I'm not sure that's the best move to go for. I think that's my time to kind of bring out the dominant chord. So when we're in G minor, the dominant would be D major, or in this instance, I'm going to make it into D major 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this G in the bass, and I could drop it down here, but bear in mind I'm thinking about playability for the violin, and that would be below it. So I either just tell the violinist to take the top line, or if I'm getting them to take all 3 lines, I move it up an octave. And then I take that bottom G and move it up an octave. And there we have a movement going up, which is generally what you want. You want your acts to kind of feel like they're growing, and one of the easiest wins for that is to take it from 1 pitch and move it up the keyboard in pitch. Okay, so let's hear how that sounds going from the C minor. Okay, nice. Now that I want that top line to kind of, that top G to be brought out, so I'm dropping that F sharp down to a D, which really resolves nicely on the G major. Now that G minor, sorry, that is my act 1. Okay, that's as simple as I'm going to take it. You know, I don't want it to be kind of crazy busy, and simple is best. The simpler, the better. I mean, what I could, in theory, do is actually take out the bottom 2 notes of that line and just have the violin playing this top line. It would be quite haunting. And then you bring in the double stopping. Nice. And actually, I really like that, so I'm going to stick with that. It feels more haunting like that, more open. It gives us more room to grow, which it means that this double stopping and then the resolve onto the root with its minor third in the bass, it feels more like, I've landed somewhere. So I'm going to do that. So often when I'm talking to my students or giving advice to other composers, it's usually, guys, trim the fat in the first act. Give yourself room to move and room to grow. So here we go. Now we're going into Act 2. So I said about it being driving, and I want it to feel tense. So I'm thinking I will have... I used to play the violin. Terribly, mind, but I used to play the violin, so I do have some idea about techniques. So, and it's good idea for you guys to think about it, especially when you're getting players to come in and play and record the lines. So I'm going to be thinking of like this. If you're a guitarist, this is the equivalent to hammer-ons and pull-offs. So they would do the down bow for the first note, and then just keep the bow moving for the second note. So they're essentially slurring the notes. So rather than it being da da, it's da da da. Philip Glass uses it all the time. In fact, lots of composers use it all the time. It's a very nice technique to kind of make your track feel like it's flowing. So although we're in this sketch we're going to be hearing like that, you've got to imagine it's going da 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 da. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking the same idea that I have in the Act 1, which is the G minor, A minor 7, G minor, C minor, G minor, D major 7, G minor. I'm going to be having that same movement, but I'm going to be trying to do it in this kind of rocking motion, implying the harmony. It's quite easy with these first chords, but then what you got to think about is when we move up, you then have to kind of bear in mind that we need to then move that progression up so that we can then start to kind of imply the harmony of the major 7. The dominant 7, I should say. So for those of you who are wondering, well, how would you imply the harmony of a 4-note chord with 2 notes? The first one is you think about what notes are determining the tonality, i.e. major or minor, of the chord. So we know the 5th doesn't play any role, so we can take the 5th out straight away. So if we're dealing with D, F sharp, A, and C natural, which are D dominant, we can take the 5th out straight away. So we know that we can play D, F sharp, and C, and it still feels like a D7, right? We can even take out the D. So the F sharp and the C are the 2 important notes. Those jazzers in the audience will know that that's how you do jazz, right? You take out the stuff you don't need to and you imply the harmony. F sharp and C does the job. So when I get to that D7, I need to be in F sharp and C. So let's play this in. Enough chat. It's quite quick, which is good. It needs to feel like it's driving forward. F sharp and C. And here's this next reiteration of the chord sequence. I'm going to be keeping that. I'm just going to make sure that all of the notes are the same velocity, and I'm going to, as I'm going to be dealing with score, I'm going to force legato all of the parts so that it doesn't look messy in the score. Now let's copy and paste this line here, and we're going to look at this together and how we can take that and make it feel like it's growing. So I'm going to take the first iteration up an octave, and there we have it. It's the easiest and quickest way to make it feel like it's growing. So here's the end of the first half. Then we jump up. Okay? It feels like it's progressing and growing, and I've not done much. Cool. Okay, so remember, this is just sketching, so that is doing everything I need it to do right now. Let's have a quick listen through, and then we're going to talk about what I'm going to be doing for Act 3. Remember, I'm thinking absolutely minimal here. This is going to be solo violin, perhaps small ensemble at best, with some sort of trailer hits and pads, and perhaps some bigger sounding stuff in the back end. Remember in the intro, you're painting a picture with as little as possible. Same material, up an octave. Okay, awesome. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's doing everything it needs to for now. I think it will require an overdub, a second line. But as it stands, that's doing everything I need. So I'm going to join those tracks together, and now I'm going to think about this third act. How do I take it from there? How do I make it feel like it's developing? Now, there's two ways. You increase the amount of notes, i.e. the speed that the player is playing, or you increase the breadth of notes, i.e. how high and low the players are playing. So you go higher and lower, or you do both. And obviously you can go louder, but that's generally the technique for this type of stuff. Is if you want it to feel like it's growing, we're just playing 2-note arpeggios here. It's very basic, so we could even just then start to think about broadening it to 3, 4, 5, 6-note arpeggios. The one thing you've got to bear in mind is that changing the amount of notes within the pattern changes the pace. So that's why often when you increase the notes, you then increase the speed. So for instance, we're up here right now. If I were to just say, let's use a 4-note arpeggio, let's listen to how that sits in. It sits all right, but it doesn't pick up the pace. Not that it needs to. I mean, that could be what happens underneath. That could be what happens the second line within the second half of the second act. Sorry. I mean, that sounds pretty good, actually. I might keep that and have that as the second thing that the violinist is playing. So, what do I do here then? I'm thinking I would like it to feel quite not manic, but maybe fast runs. But let's do the foundations first. I'm not sure I'm going to keep the same chord progression. I think I'm going to change the chord progression. Oh, blimey, I've got a cable in the way. So I like the idea of changing the pace, so making it feel like it's suddenly ramping up. But I don't want to send the arpeggio up too high because I want the violinist, the first chair, if you will, to have room to kind of like soar over the top. So perhaps the first violinist will go up there, and then the second overdub will go down here. So. All that. I like that. C minor, E flat major, G minor, D7. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Right, I'm not going to play all this in because I'm not that good at playing fast on my keyboard. Okay, let's just tidy this up a little bit. I've just been quantizing, by the way. One of my favourite pastimes, one could say. Oh, blimey. There we go. Okay, so we have this pattern established now. Cool. Yeah, see, I think that steps it up beautifully. I've doubled the speed. And then let's drop it to an E flat. See how that sits? G minor. So E is C minor, E flat, G minor, D. Yeah, that sounds about right to me. Dropping it down, so let's take this one down to a G minor. That means just dropping the E flat to a D, then I copy and paste this, drop that G to an F sharp, drop this B to an A. So here we go, let's hear my first ideas for Act 3. Then we'll drop that down to a D7. And then, in fact, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste that. So we then have that D repeated for 2 bars, then D, and then we drop down to a D7, which then affords us the ability to return back comfortably to the G minor, our root, and that is where we're just gonna hang out on the G minor. There we go. Like, boom, 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 bosh. There we go. There we go. That's my trailer cue. Done. There we go. Send that off to the trailer libraries and companies. No, not quite finished. Very close, but not quite finished. So what I want is I want the first violin to take over. You're going to have to excuse my playing. I might even draw this in just because I can't play as fast as I want it to sound. So it's like something like that. Let's try it. Oh, it's all fun, isn't it? So I'm just basically just going to delete everything I just played, and there we go. Let's establish what's going to happen in this bit here. So I'm just shortening all the notes. Make sure they're all the same velocity just for now, just to clear it up. And then, so what note do I want to land on? I want to land on one of the chord tones of the C minor. So it needs to make sure that wherever I go, I land back on a C, an E flat, or a G. Yeah, see, that doesn't quite work. Maybe if I just repeat that line. And maybe don't have it like that. Let's try that. Nice. I think that sounds pretty good. And then here, we kind of want to repeat it. A similar. I like the idea of patterns repeating. So we are landing on a E flat here. So I'm going to drop the pattern by a tone and then see if I can just adjust everything. G. It won't be exact because obviously the inversion of the chord has changed. So it might be a case of oh. Let's see about how that sounds. I'm probably going to need to change that. Oh no, that sounds alright. And then we go to the G minor. I'm going to keep it on the B flat for now. And I'm going to change a couple of things. So I want it to land back on the G here. And then here we land on the D. And I'm going to, because it's the fourth iteration, I'm going to change the pattern somewhat. What am I doing? Yeah, there we go. Let's hear it with a D. Okay, and now, because it's the fourth iteration, I don't want it to feel... I want it to feel different. I want there to be something new happening here, and I think that's going to be where we introduce this idea of the patterns doubling up. Something like that. Okay, so let's have a listen to that as is. Okay, so it's getting there. It's not quite there yet. So let's just do a couple of things. The first one is, in between the phrases, I think there needs to be a leading note. Bum, bum. Just to kind of bring it in a little bit. So let's hear that in situ now, shall we? And then we're going to the D7, which I'm not happy with it staying around... Sorry, this G minor. I'm not happy with it staying around there. So I might move it up to the D. There we go. Let's have a listen. And then we'll need that leading note again. Do 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 do. End on that C with the 7th degree. And then here is where we lead it up to the change. And what I mean by that is I want to lead up to this pattern repeating again, but instead of starting on the C, we're going to start on the E flat, which is the 3rd of the C minor. So I'm just moving everything a little bit, so we then have this little run going on here. And then we have the pattern repeating, okay? And in this case, the pattern repeats up and starts on the E flat. Except I'm going to change it. It's not going to be exactly the same, so I might even delete all of that, but... So we've got this... So yeah, that's what I would like to be different now. I want it to be like... So we're doubling up on those run ideas. So I'm going to just delete all of this stuff. Okay. And I'm on the second half of Act 3, just for those of you who are wondering. And I'm starting on the E flat. Okay. So I want it to feel like it's changed. So I'm not just going to double it up. I might change the way it works. So at the moment it's this 4 descending. So let's just hear how this works when it's actually written in the right key. Yeah, see, I'm not loving it right now. It's not quite working for me. So let's try this. I'm adding in a second note, so it's like something like that. This is sounding a bit better. It's still not quite there for me yet. Yeah, I think it's the E flat. Let's change the E flat to this. So we start on the C instead. See, that works better. It creates more tension. And then I'm going to copy and paste this. I might turn that output off so that you don't hear me fiddling around with the notes so much. And then we land onto the... that's what I'm going to do. We land onto the E flat. So I need to make sure that the note ends around a B flat. And then I'm going to copy and paste that. So we've now got B flat C, which could sound a bit tense with the E flat. That's what sounds tense, the D. Let's try that. No, I'm going to stick with that. And then, same thing, I'm going from an E flat to a G, so I need to make sure that this last note of the sequence doesn't end on a G, because that's going to feel too, like, awkward. So I need to drop it down. I think it might be to the F sharp, and might be to the F natural, or it might be going back up to the... I'll keep it going back to the B flat. And then here I'm going to change it because it needs to then start to grow. So actually I am going to drop that down to the G, and it's going to go up in steps like this. Let's see, because I want this to then, because we're approaching the kind of climactic element. And then this is where I introduce the speed. F sharp, E, D, C. Doubling up. Is that the right note to do? Maybe I'll do. Oh, that's why it's an E flat. There we go. Doy. Little. And then we're going to take that up and then move up a step in the sequence. So it goes G to F sharp to E flat to D. And then we're going to copy and cut that and then copy and paste it. Because remember, it needs to kind of like move up again from G to A. Where are we? We're approaching the very top of the violin now. So let's be a bit careful about what we do. A, G, F sharp. Oh, didn't need to do that. F sharp, E flat, And then I'm just going to repeat that A, G, F sharp, E, and see how that works. And then I'm going to have a pause there. And then this last iteration, rather than it being exactly the same, we're going to drop it so that it ends on the F sharp, the third, and I'm going to have a descending pattern going E flat, D, and then C, then B flat, and I'm going to take it from here to A, and then B flat, and then let's go C. So we've got this kind of descending pattern going, and then reascending. In fact, maybe that's what I do for the last bit there. That's it. And then here it's just going to be repeating that root note. There we go. Let's have a listen to Act 3, see how we're getting on. Okay, I will admit, it feels meandering. I like it, but it's not quite doing it for me. So do I perhaps do a sudden U-turn and just take that, join it together and put it aside for now, and think about perhaps it being a soaring element over the top? Because I liked it when it did this. I liked it when it climbed up. I liked that. I think that was the most effective part of that whole shebang. Now, it's really nice for me to do this on this, with you guys watching and listening, because you can hear that actually sometimes your ideas don't always pan out, but it doesn't matter. Now, one technique I often do is at this stage, I stop and I come back to it tomorrow. Because the moment I then start to really critique my work too much is the moment I'm not writing anymore. I'm not open to ideas. I'm closing ideas down. So it might be an idea for me to take a break. But what I am going to do, because I feel like this is me just wanting to try one more thing, I'm not deleting anything. I'm going to try this and see how it sounds, then I'm going to stop. Okay, so let's have a listen. Something like that. Yeah, so that's nice, but again, it's still quite meandering. So maybe it's just a case of it being longs and it being like a repeated idea over the top of the chords to create the tension itself. Let's give that a try. Wrong idea. Do, do, do. We're in C, aren't we? Keep it going. Yeah, I like that as well, but we could even just go so far as to have soaring notes. I think I'm going to try that. That actually worked really nicely. Pay attention. Me, not you. Yes, I think that's the winner, really. Except for that D on the E flat, which I perhaps will drop down like this. Yeah, there we go. I think that's the winner. So I'm going to just take a look at Act 2 again, where we have these two ideas. And then I'm going to just re-go over some things. In fact, let's just force legato all these chaps. And then that's going C, A, G, E flat. Maybe it's actually a case. What chords have I got? That's the A and the G over the top. Maybe it's not an A minor 7 because I've got... This is what you guys have been saying all along. Rich, it's not an A minor 7, you're in G minor. Ah, of course. It's a flattened E. Oh well, I'd like to say it's Monday morning, but it's not. It's Friday, which I suppose is a day for being slow. So let's try that. C. Yes, that works quite nicely. It brings in the tension nicely. And that will enable my melody to climb. If I then take up the arpeggio. That sounds really awful when you say that. I'll take it up the arpeggio. There we go. So we then drop it, moving this G up to there. So and then here it would then go up to C, D, C, A, and G, perhaps. Oh, actually, sorry. I just realised I'm in E. I'm in C minor here, aren't I? So it would actually go to a nice open C minor arpeggio, which is E flat C. And then it's back to the G, which I will actually just drop this down, this C minor arpeggio, just compress it a little bit down. There we go. So we're getting a little bit of clashing notes, so I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. And because it's a repeated part here, I'm actually going to change the pattern, which changes the pace a little bit. Okay, and then here it's that D7 type thing, so I'm going to have it going like that. What notes? Is there any clashing notes? Nope. And then there. We're going to open it again. You have to excuse my singing whilst I'm doing this. My my teenage self is having a great time. And drop. So there we go. Okay, cool. I think I would like to have a pause in between that section, but I'm also tempted to not have a resolve there. And then here it stops. To bring that pause. 3, 4. Cool. So let's have a listen to the whole thing, and I think I'm done. As for my sketch. Cool. I don't want to have to iterate that last bit. Okay, so you may have noticed that I was unmuting and muting that line. I realised actually that sort of counterpoint was actually quite important for the progression of that singular melody. So I'm glad I didn't delete it. Cool, so it's going to be kind of 3 violin lines going on, really. And the other one here was that I wanted it to... It ends a bit weirdly at the end here, doesn't it? It's going to be 3 violin lines. So 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 3 violin lines. So the main part doing the kind of the bulk of the work. And if I were to then start preparing this for a player, I would then copy this line and I would say, okay, you can take Monsieur or Madame the middle lines, you can take the bottom line there. So it would be a pretty simple case of then working with the score in these bits here. And then I would simply violin 1, violin 2, and then violin 3. And there we have it. There's my sketch for my trailer cue, dramatic trailer cue based around a single instrument, the violin. Yes, I've got overdubs, but who cares? And I used a piano to write it out. I'll listen back to it later on, but at this point, it's a sketch. I wanted to sketch out the whole cue so that I didn't have to think about that when I worked on the details. There are details in here that I need to add, some variations within the arpeggios. I obviously need to add in the articulations for the players in the score. But this is really important because it teaches you about writing for trailer music without having to worry so much about having massive, massive sounds. You know, trailer music isn't just big epic orchestral, and I say this all the time. It's as much this stuff as well. This delicate, dramatic writing. You know, you watch any trailers for period drama films, they will have big sounding stuff, but it's usually the back end if they have it at all. And we're not just dealing with Hollywood film trailers, we're dealing with trailers for TV shows that are going on streaming services. The variety of work is huge. This is just string writing for dramatic trailers. And that could be documentaries, crime dramas, period dramas basically, that has emotion. So this is less emotion and this is more tension and drama. But, you know, I can cover emotion on another track for the same album. So the takeaways for you in this rather long tutorial was for you to be able to understand how to structure a cue using just a piano. Because then now I have all of these parts, I could feasibly then go, okay, well, how about, for instance, I load up some strings and I want to go big trailer, so I'm going to use my Metropolis arc spiccato, not sus unison, spiccato unison, and I'm just going to chuck these guys in there, and it's going to be like, yep. So we're getting that sound already, right? Just from switching the sounds, I'm going to copy and paste that line, same thing. Already the mood of it is shifted. It's just wonderful. And you can then, instead of up here, you can say, well, perhaps I don't have the Alicia keys, perhaps I have the Woodchester felt piano. I would obviously add in pedals and stuff like that, but you're starting to get the point. And this bit here, you know, I could then say, well, perhaps I'm going to double everything. Perhaps trailer sound. And then, you know, okay, well, perhaps I'm going to go, hey, let's just turn this into a real trailer track. Load OTC on the strings. And then, just for the fun of it, let's load in some Cerberus. So you see how actually the work of a trailer composer is all in the sketching your ideas. It's not so much in the, you know, getting the huge sound straight away. It's in the sketching of your ideas and laying out the track straight away. Getting your ideas out. Starting simple, building pace and tension and pitch and breadth, and then expanding on that in Act 3, and then iterating your route for what some call Act 4. I just call it the end of Act 3. So there you go. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening, you can go check this out on the Trailer Music School YouTube channel. If you're watching, but you didn't get to finish it, or you want to listen to it in more detail, you can check out the Trailer Music Composers podcast, where you can hear this tutorial. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. You guys are absolute legends. I'll see you next time.